Tekken Bloodline backstory of every character explained. Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Terry and this is Marvelous Videos. Tekken has produced several iconic characters over the years, all of whom have their own cult following. Based on the Tekken series of games, Tekken Bloodline follows the exploits of iconic Jin Kazama in all his glory, including flame motif pants. It's one of the very few fighting games that has stood the test of time and emerged victorious. Let's jump right into the video to explore all the characters that the series features. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Now, let's begin. Jin Kazama. The parents of Jin Kazama are Kazuya Mishima and Jun Kazama. Jun raised Jin and instructed him in the Kazama family style of self-defense after relocating to an isolated area in the mountains on her native island of Yakushima.
The thing I can teach you is to control your anger and use whatever power you have for good.
A few years later, Jun felt the coming of great evil and thought it was about time she informed Jin of his past. She also advised him to seek out his grandfather, Heihachi Mishima, in the event that something were to happen to her. On Jin's 15th birthday, she was assaulted by the Ogre, which led to her demise. Hours later, amid the commotion, Jin, who'd been knocked out, regained consciousness with a demon mark on his arm. Jin became outraged after failing to find his mother and vowed vengeance.
And with or without your help, I'll find it, and I'll kill it.
Heihachi took him in and began training him in the Mishima style of karate. Jin Kazama's father, Kazuya Mishima, gave him the characteristics of the devil gene. After the second King of Iron Fist tournament, Kazuya's half of the devil, who'd escaped, made an unsuccessful effort to take Jin's body. This aspect of the devil was repelled by Jin's mother, Jun Kazama, but it reappeared following her defeat by the Ogre 15 years later. Devil imprinted a mark on now teenage Jin's left arm, controlling him but leaving it dormant. Jin was shot by his grandfather, Heihachi Mishima, at the third King of Iron Fist tournament's conclusion. Jin was revived as Devil Jin and quickly destroyed Heihachi and the Tekken Force guards that were with him after being healed by the Devil Gene within him. Like Heihachi, Jin was a Mishima fighter who used all of the recognizable techniques from the Mishima style of karate. In actuality though, Jin's moves were a combination of Kazuya Mishima and Jun Kazama's, preserving many of Jun's while also including new, enhanced Mishima style techniques. Jin can circumnavigate thanks to his special parry. Jin's parry works by physically pushing the opponent, providing them a retrieval where they can't block. As the opponent recovers from the move, Jin may counter-attack them while they're still recuperating from the parry, seeming as if he wasn't dodging. His rage art calls for him to shock the opponent with a high crushing blow, then flurries him with multiple jabs before putting him out with a devastating straight shot to the face. Heihachi Mishima. The CEO of Mishima Zaibatsu is Heihachi Mishima, the son of Jinpachi Mishima. He's the father of Kazuya Mishima, Jin Kazama's grandfather, and Kazumi Mishima's spouse. Heihachi practices Mishima-style fighting karate, which he taught Kazuya, Lee, and Jin. In addition, he established the Tekken Force unit as its first commander between the second and third tournaments. Heihachi is a cunning, savvy businessman who is charming and skilled at influencing others. Others can struggle to distinguish between Heihachi's frequently wicked sense of humor and his deadly serious moments.
Again, attack!
Heihachi has a notably nasty streak, which includes killing his former employees and tossing his 5-year-old kid off a cliff. He shot his grandchild, killed his wife while acting in self-defense, imprisoned his father for at least 20 years, and routinely used kidnapping and physical force to intimidate others. Heihachi's adoptive sons, Lee and Kazuya, both harbor great resentment towards him, implying that he was similarly brutal to them as kids. Heihachi has an insatiable drive for power and has tried to control the whole planet, increase his strength via genetic experiments, and achieve endless youth. For his own benefit, he's battled against everyone in his family. The most notable of them was when he kidnapped Kazuya and Jin for use in a demon-human integration program, which would try and fuse human and devil cells, and when he shot his grandson after using him to draw out the Ogre, whom Heihachi sought to experiment on in order to obtain perpetual life and power. He has increasingly taken the Mishima Zaibatsu down darker and more evil paths in his own pursuit for dominance, militarizing it after Tekken 2 with the founding of Tekken Force, engaging in dishonest economic practices and carrying out terrible experiments in order to increase the corporation's power. Heihachi excels in putting up an excellent front to the general public and transforming the Zaibatsu's public face into a mask for its more sinister activities. Ogre. Ogre is a sentient being despite the fact that he occasionally looks like a wild creature. Ogre can communicate in his original form but uses an unidentified old language. A towering, hulking figure with dark green skin makes up the original or old version of the ogre. He has long orange hair and is decked out with several pieces of antique Aztec jewelry in addition to a sizable golden helmet. On his left arm is a little circular shield that is believed to represent the mythical stone of the sun, the Aztec calendar. He's said to be incredibly powerful yet very old in origin. He was revered by prehistoric human creatures as the god of fighting. The radical transformation causes the ogre's second form to be somewhat stooped over and not as tall as it first seems. He no longer bears a resemblance to his human form and appears in a massive ugly frame, dark brown and grey fur, a hideous visage, wings, horns and a sizable viper snake in lieu of his right arm. With the exception of 2 leglets and 1 armlet, all of the jewelry that Ogre wore while in his previous shape has vanished. Finding the ogre was one of the primary goals of Heihachi's Tekken Force. Somewhere in Mexico, Tekken Force examines an old temple. Heihachi finds out shortly after getting there that Ogre has destroyed his whole force. Having seen the might of the ogre, Heihachi wants to capture him in order to create the supreme living form. Ogre strikes several well-known martial arts experts all across the world and takes their ki and skills into himself. Ogre finally travels to Yakushima, where Jun Kazama resides with her son Jin, who is 15 years old. When Ogre discovers them, he attacks them and kills Jun after overpowering Jin to render him unconscious. After the incident, Jin seeks the ogre to avenge his mother's death. Later, Heihachi uses Jin as bait to lure the ogre into the 3rd King of Iron Fist tournament. Jin defeats both forms of the ogre and kills it.
Everything you have, I will now take from you.
Kazuya Mishima. Kazuya Mishima is the son of Heihachi and Kazumi Mishima, Jun Kazama's probable love interest and Jin Kazama's father. At first look, Kazuya appears to be another classic protagonist, aided by his choice of clothes, plain white slacks with red gloves and foot pads, and his legitimate goal to get revenge on his abusive father Heihachi Mishima. However, Kazuya was destined from the start to be more sinister. According to some stories, Kazuya was a fragile and frightened child who'd suffered years of torture at the hands of Heihachi. When Kazuya was 5 years old, Heihachi pushed him down a steep gorge to determine if he would be resilient enough to live and one day lead the Mishima Zaibatsu, which almost killed the youngster. On the other hand, this near-death event reawakened something within him, giving him great strength and presumably permanently altering his mentality. Instead of restoring justice and respect to the Mishima Zaibatsu and righting his father's wrongs, Kazuya perpetuated his father's corrupt methods and developed it into an even more cruel and terrible organization after killing his father. His crimes included abduction, extortion, and trafficking of endangered animal species. He even took virtually all of Hokkaido, with plans to establish his own independent nation and a powerful military presence there. Kazuya planned to conduct another Iron Fist tournament one day, and while there, he met a woman named Jun Kazama whom he found intriguing and advancing without fear. His exact relationship with Jun is uncertain, however she attempted to save him from the devil's control and eventually had his child. The man Kazuya believed he had killed 2 years ago awaited him in the tournament's final round, his father. Heihachi fought Kazuya and allegedly killed him by throwing his body into a volcano. Kazuya's devil was divided in 2, and a portion of it escaped to establish a connection with his kid. King 2. In the Tekken series, 2 characters have been given the title King. Despite the fact that the name has been used by 2 people, each is simply referred to as King. However, a number is often assigned to distinguish them as distinct figures. Both kings are Mexican luchadors, who help orphans all around the world. King is a big, strong Mexican man with dark hair and a light brown complexion who wears his signature jaguar mask at all times. The second king was a homeless orphan raised at the first king's orphanage. This guy worked tirelessly with King until the age of 24, when word emerged of the first king's demise as a result of Ogre's assault. Seeing that the orphanage was about to collapse as the only income obtained was from King's wrestling matches, the man showed up wearing the mask of King and emulated his manners. Sadly, he had only witnessed King's wrestling techniques as a youngster and lost every tournament he joined. However, another guy in disguise paid a visit to the new king, claiming himself to be an old acquaintance. This guy introduced himself to Armor King, who was curious whether the tales of a new king were genuine. They trained for 4 years and the new king learned swiftly, turning into a fierce wrestler known as King 2 with great power. By this point, the now 28-year-old wrestler had proven himself to be a suitable heir to the throne. King employs Armor King in addition to lucha libre and pro wrestling, but he employs the catch variant, emphasizing grips and submissions more. Contrary to widespread assumption, King adopts a more defensive strategy than an all-attacking one. King doesn't charge into combat, but instead holds the foe at bay with effective punishments and a tough grappling match. King fights in a cautious manner, as he has a small field of attack and is quite unreliable. He focuses on rapid blows, fluid mobility, and a clear understanding of punishment. King is also well renowned for his chain grabs, which, if executed correctly and unbroken, may do enormous amounts of damage. However, King still includes smaller chains that are challenging to break, as there are several ways to execute the throw, each of which produces a distinct input to break the chain. Jun Kazama. Jun Kazama is the mother of Jin Kazama. Jun practices Kazama-style traditional martial arts, which has been passed down through the Kazama family for many generations, and works for the conservation organization WWWC as a wildlife surveillance officer. Before relocating to Tokyo as an adult, Jun was raised on the island of Yakushima, where she learned the principles of Kazama-style martial arts and honed her psychic powers. City living separated her from spiritual settings, but when her father's ghost visited her, it confirmed her faith in the paranormal. When she was working for the WWWC in Tokyo, she first learned of a guy by the name of Kazuya Mishima who was engaged in the smuggling of protected species. In order to stop the illegal smuggling and release Kazuya from whatever force was around him, Jun resolves to compete in the second King of Iron Fist tournament. She also senses a mysterious power enveloping Kazuya. A mutual desire between Jun and Kazuya throughout the competition resulted in Jun getting pregnant. After failing in her attempt to free Kazuya from the devil's control, Jun returned to Yakushima after Kazuya was beaten in a fight by his father Heihachi. The latter later disposed of his son's body in an erupting volcano. Her kid, whom she called Jin, was born. On Jin's 15th birthday, an ogre attacked her because he was looking for the best martial artists in the world to vanquish and take their skills. Jin ran to her rescue when his mother was fighting, but he was quickly defeated by the ogre and knocked down. He woke up to see Jun nowhere to be found, and his house had been completely wrecked. We don't know for sure what happened to Jun following these incidents. Leroy Smith. Leroy is a modest, intelligent and perceptive elderly guy with white dreadlocks, some of which are ornamented with gold jewelry, and he's still physically fit despite his age. Additionally, he has a moustache and beard, a tattoo of a dragon on his right arm, and rings inked on both of his thumbs. Leroy wears a pair of black sunglasses most of the time, although he seems to be blind in his right eye. He trained in Wing Chun to fight criminals and restore order after seeing his family killed and his community destroyed. Heihachi Mishima, whose deeds caused suffering for him and others, is responsible for the devastation of his loved ones and his community, according to him. Leroy Smith, a young child, lost every member of his family to the bloodshed in New York. After almost 50 years, Leroy learned from a gang leader with prior knowledge during his search that the Mishima Zaibatsu was responsible for the conflict that destroyed the city 50 years ago. He had no idea that the vast corporation today dividing the world in two was equally to blame for the crimes done so many years ago. Even so, Leroy made the decision to destroy the company if it was indeed responsible for all the misdeeds he had witnessed. He made the decision to participate in Mishima Zaibatsu's own King of Iron Fist tournament in order order to complete his mission. Leroy uses Wing Chun, a combat method created to counter an opponent's advances. Wing Chun is distinguished by its defensive posture and use of evasion to create openings to unleash powerful, incapacitating blows on an opponent's weak points and important regions. In a fight, Leroy may summon his pet, a dog named Sugar, similar to how Kazuya Mishima can summon pet Tiger. Leroy also has a unique technique in which he utilizes his cane as a weapon to beat down his adversaries. Only one usage of this move is permitted each game. Paul Phoenix. An American fighter with grit, Paul Phoenix is somewhat of a nomad and doesn't really have a profession. Instead, he makes money by street fighting and occasionally working as a bouncer while he pursues his true passion, to establish himself as the most formidable fighter in the universe. Paul is a fighter with a solid build, blue eyes, thick brows and the recognizable high flat top hairdo. He sports a scorpion tattoo on his right arm. Paul is a very overconfident person who never questions himself. Because of his inflated ego and tendency to overestimate himself, Paul frequently finds himself in challenging and unfavorable circumstances. Alongside the exception of Kazuya, a teenage fighter who held him to a draw, Paul trains with Lee Chaolan and martial law, who would later grow to be his close friend. Paul is unbeaten in combat. He joins the King of Iron Fist tournament when he learns about it, viewing it as an opportunity to compete against an old foe and show who is the greatest. Even though Paul meets Kazuya face to face, he's still defeated. Paul gains a new foe in the process, a bear by the name of Kuma. Even though he defeated Kuma in the second tournament again, Paul could not overcome Kazuya. This time, Paul had won the opportunity to compete against Kazuya, but he couldn't get to the location in time due to traffic on the Japanese highways, so he was forced to forfeit. After waiting for 20 years, he got the chance to fight in the third Iron Fist tournament, which he accepted immediately. He defeated Kuma and Julia Chang before being defeated by King. After engaging in cross-training with his longtime training associates Marshall and Forrest Law, Paul's fighting technique has likely undergone significant adaptations. As seen by his throws, Paul uses a unique hybrid combat style based on judo. His chain leg kicks and back shoulder assaults show off the many other features of different martial arts, such as karate and even Baji Quan. Ling Xiaoyu. Xiaoyu is a kind and upbeat young lady whose tale is connected to that of Jin Kazama, a companion who has become evil. Her naivete and tenacity stand out as her most noticeable qualities. Whilst on vacation with her parents in Hong Kong, Xiaoyu fled from them. To get Heihachi Mishima to agree to build her a theme park, she stowed away on a ship under the name Mishima Zaibatsu. Heihachi took Xiaoyu on as a ward of the Mishima Zaibatsu after learning that she had defeated his men, who'd attempted to catch her on board. Heihachi was so pleased by her talent and courage, he enrolled her at Mishima Polytechnical School, where she made friends with fellow student Jin Kazama and trained her own personal panda bodyguard. She participates in the first competition with the express intent of creating her own theme park. Her ignorance of Heihachi Mishima's cunning schemes also demonstrates how innocent she is in this regard. Xiaoyu signs up for the third King of Iron Fist tournament with the intention of utilizing the winnings to create the theme park. Xiaoyu proves her worth in the qualifying rounds by defeating Nina Williams despite Jin's complaints about allowing her to compete. Heihachi remarks that Xiaoyu has an advantage over his grandson because she values tactics, perseverance and attrition when necessary, as opposed to indulging in self-pity like Jin. Ling Xiaoyu employs a variety of Chinese martial arts that emphasize quickness, dodging, flips, spins and back-twisted movements to keep her opponent always wondering what she'll do next. Despite her low capacity for causing damage, she has excellent combo potential. She can easily maintain pressure on her opponents because of her various flips and low strikes that are difficult to anticipate. She's also renowned for her Phoenix stance, which enables her to dodge mid-range blows by doing a butterfly whilst in this posture and deflecting high-range assaults. Hwoarang. Hwoarang is arrogant, conceited and reckless. Although he's disobedient and dislikes following commands from superiors, he respects his teacher, Baek Do-san. He takes pride in his combat skills and enjoys bragging about how effortlessly he can dispose of his opponents. Throughout the series, Hwoarang is committed to fighting his opponent Jin Kazama as he's motivated by pride. Even when he accomplishes remarkable things, Hwoarang finds it difficult to find fulfillment and meaning in his daily existence. Hwoarang takes part in the third King of Iron Fist tournament when it's announced. Before arriving at the venue, he briefly squares off with Jin, and it's clear that he wants a rematch. They go together in the same vehicle. During the tournament's opening ceremony, he's seated at the same table as Jin. Hwoarang shows worry and says that Jin was overly heavy-handed in the manner he terminated the fight after Jin's contest against Leroy Smith, in which Jin fractured Leroy's leg. Hwoarang competes against Jin in the semi-finals after defeating Steve Fox and Anna Williams. Jin battles, deciding between Heihachi's beliefs and those of his mother, and starts to assault him more and more forcefully. Hwoarang, who is ecstatic, matches Jin and unleashes a mighty torrent of blows. Despite this, Jin strikes him with a powerful uppercut, ending the fight. As a practitioner of Taekwondo, Hwoarang largely relies on the quickness and adaptability of kicks. If given a chance, he can easily keep his adversary on the defensive and be unable to strike back. Hwoarang's speed is rather mediocre, despite possessing a flashy and nimble set of moves. He makes up for it with a devastating series of kicks that are only surpassed in both damage and range by Bike. His kicks are also generally safe to use in terms of punishment. Their main disadvantage is that they're susceptible to countermeasures. His punches work best as rapid jabs or as a way to hold the opponent in midair while doing juggles. Hwoarang's punches provide minor raw damage. He's by no means a grappler, but he does have a wide range of throwing moves. Nina Williams. A cold-blooded Irish killer, Nina Williams competes with her younger sister Anna Williams. Nina is icy and unsympathetic, and she works ruthlessly and efficiently, but she had undergone multiple tests, first when she was young, then again when she failed to kill Kazuya Mishima and was made to go into cryosleep, and finally after she awoke and was briefly under Ogre's control. All of these mental experiments had an impact on her, causing her to repress certain feelings or lose memories and agency. This can be a sign that Nina's remote personality is partly manufactured. Nevertheless, Nina shows little concern for or faith in other people. Her father, Richard Williams, who she appears to have admired and from whom she learned the assassin's craft, is an exception to this rule. Nina has no concern about morals and has spent most of her life working as an assassin for hire. She earned a living for almost 6 years after losing her memory by working for the infamous criminal organization, the Syndicate. In the third King of Iron Fist tournament, Nina makes her appearance. She meets Jin right after accidentally riding in the same van to the exact location, and she tells him of the terrible evils that Kazuya Mishima has unleashed. She engages Xiaoyu in a preliminary battle, but despite her skill, Xiaoyu prevails. Nina is a strong fighter because of her agility, deadly maneuvers, and chain throws. She's as strong as the majority of characters and has the ability to dodge and counter-attack. Her chain throws are challenging to execute and need accuracy and perseverance. Nina uses assassin techniques mixed with the martial arts of Aikido and Kopujitsu when she fights. Her combinations are dangerous because they're intricate, powerful, and even fatal.
I don't think she'll be able to go in her state. Please, Julia, you have to. What? You want me to go in her place?
Julia Chang. Julia's life had a rough beginning because she was abandoned as a baby among the ruins of a Native American village after being born to unknown parents. However, when she was discovered by Michelle Chang, a young lady from a native tribe who raised her as her own, her circumstances altered. Julia learned to fight so she could defend her home as she grew up, and developed a great affection for her adoptive mother and tribe. In order to discover more about her ancestors, Julia acquired an interest in the history of her tribe and started studying archaeology. As Julia got closer to 18 years old, rumors began to spread about the tribe of martial artists who were missing all across the world. Michelle traveled to Japan in order to speak with Heihachi Mishima and learn more about the necklace and the reasons for his earlier search, because she was concerned that the god of fighting stories from tribal cultures were coming true and that her pendant was somehow related. Julia attended the third King of Iron Fist tournament to save her mother when she didn't show up as expected, and she suspected Heihachi of having done something wrong. Julia battles and overcomes martial law, yet Paul Phoenix ultimately defeats her. She makes an attack on Heihachi after being vanquished in an effort to reclaim her mother's stolen pendant, but she's soundly destroyed. Julia uses a combination of many Chinese martial arts arts, including Baji Quan and Jinyi Lu He Quan, among others, in her combat technique. She also employs a variety of wrestling techniques, including Death Valley drivers and suplexes. Julia's fighting technique is quite similar to Michelle's, as her adoptive mother taught her how to fight. The majority of Julia's quick strikes and ranged kicks may be combined with other attacks to produce a variety of comparable techniques.
You've snuck into the wrong place, kid.
I'm trying to find my grandfather.
Ganryu. Ganryu was a gifted Rikishi who used his power and skill in the ring to become the Zeki rank's youngest ever warrior. Ganryu had the skill to rise quickly to the level of Yokozuna, but his lifestyle outside of the ring ultimately brought him down. His arrogant demeanor and illegal gambling habit caused him to be dishonorably ousted from the sport. Ganryu, who is still adamant that he's the world's best fighter, entered the King of Iron Fist tournament to demonstrate his prowess. Although he was unable to win the contest, he lost to Yoshimitsu and had his unjustly acquired wealth taken by the ninja. Someone named Kazuya Mishima saw his talent and hired Ganryu to serve as his bodyguard after winning the contest and taking leadership of the Mishima Zaibatsu. Finding the young Native American Michelle Chang and stealing the amulet she was holding was one of Ganryu's duties in this position. In addition to failing to steal the amulet, Ganryu also developed feelings for his intended victim. However, because of the lack of a response to his devotion, Ganryu stayed in the Mishima Zaibatsu, serving as Heihachi Mishima's bodyguard there. Years after the second competition, Ganryu learns about an uproar generated by a little child who is said to be Heihachi's grandson. Heihachi first views the youngster as little more than a street rat when Ganryu brings the boy to him, despite his doubts. The youngster answers and says his name is Jin Kazama. Ganryu uses sumo wrestling in battle. In the age-old and widely practiced sport of sumo, a Rikishi must throw or push his opponent beyond the confines of a circular ring, or be forced to touch the ground with a body part other than their feet.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Iron Fist Arena.
Akiko Miura. Just prior to the start of Jin's official training, Akiko is initially presented as Heihachi Mishima's secretary. She thinks that adding flame patterns to Jin's pants would be too ostentatious and pompous. Heihachi replies,
"He is Mishima. Many will come to challenge his legacy."
But he agrees to keep the flame design at bay until Jin earns the right to wield it himself. Jin's training sessions, where he's routinely battered to the point of exhaustion but still manages to stand up each time, were seen by Akiko and Ganryu. Akiko hands Heihachi a dossier containing a number of competitors from the second King of Iron Fist tournament. She disappeared after the emergence of Ogre just before Jin completed his upper body workout. Following the announcement of the third King of Iron Fist tournament, Akiko cautions Jin not to publicly acknowledge his relationship with Heihachi, because doing so could reveal his ancestry with Kazuya Mishima, the former leader of the Mishima Zaibatsu, who was hated and had to deal with a lot of assassination attempts. While Heihachi prepares to utilize Jin to lure the ogre, Akiko queries her boss about his confidence in Jin's success. Heihachi responds that as long as they can get the ogre out, he doesn't really care if Jin wins his battle. Akiko is a pragmatic, business-minded woman who isn't hesitant to express her opinions to Heihachi, her boss. She's responsible for managing both family matters involving the Mishima clan and commercial issues such as looking into Ogre and getting in touch with Dr. Boskonovich. Heihachi appears to respect her viewpoint, giving some situations over to her judgment and considering them. She advises Jin to be cautious while dealing with Mishima's past because she's aware of it. Cameos of other famous characters. While many of the characters have been featured in the series, some have a relatively short time on screen. We come across most of the characters during the third King of Iron Fist tournament, like Anna Williams, who is the sister of Nina Williams, who was defeated by Paul Phoenix in the first round. Other famous characters include Martial Law, Steve Fox, Yoshimitsu, and many others. If you're a fan of the game, it's a must-watch to see which of your favourite characters made the cut. Till then, please subscribe to our channel for many more videos on Tekken Bloodline and many other exciting series. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.